Hardcore Tolkien fans have been devastated over what Amazon did with it. But now, the Warhammer franchise may be next. Warhammer is one of the most bizarre sci-fi franchises out there. You might think that Star Trek or Star Wars go really hard in the genre, but they're nothing compared to Warhammer, which cranks it up to 11 in comparison. With that said, there's a chance that a big studio picking it up for a show may not be the best news for fans out there. Do I really have to explain anything after what they did with the Lord of the Rings? The show ended up not sticking to the source material, the small amounts of it that it had to stick to anyways. The casting was all weird, and anyone who's read a Tolkien book knows that everything was always a bit off. That might soon be the case with Warhammer. Why do I say that? Well, it's a pretty niche franchise to begin with, and rarely is anyone actually interested in it. With that said, Amazon needs to make some cash off of their investment, so it only makes sense that they'd make a show for the general public. A franchise that's all about its super niche and weird stuff would then just be another sci-fi adventure. While that's great for getting more people invested in the franchise's universe, it destroys what it stands for. At least what it stands for is the people that actually care about it and have devoted their lives to it. Let's dig a little deeper. For starters, you're probably going to see a much more dumbed-down version of everything. It would make sense to the average viewer, but it would just be bad for someone who's already a fan. Moreover, a dumbed-down version of it could end up focusing on a single bad guy from just one faction to make it easier for people to understand, completely killing off the point of such an intricate lore. Not just that, but they're bound to add in some kind of woke agenda that completely changes certain aspects of characters as well. Again, Rings of Power is a great example of it, completely changing the aspects of what makes one an elf in that universe just for the sake of being woke and pleasing the public. Plus, they made Galadriel have feelings for Sauron.
Alone can see your greatness. I would make you a queen.
And you, my king. The Dark Lord.
No. Not dark. Not with you at my side.
What's all that about? It's the same thing that you saw with the Star Wars sequels on repeat. Sadly, it doesn't look like there's a way out of it now, especially since Amazon is always finding more ways to make more money. Rarely does it care about the fans and community built around a franchise, and neither do most mega corporations. In the end, its main goal is to make money, and it's going to go ahead for new fans rather than the few that already exist. With that said, there's still hope for it. Much of that is because the people working on the project are passionate about the franchise, especially their latest and biggest cast member, Henry Cavill. I mean, the guy straight up left the Witcher franchise because the studio wanted to take things in a completely different direction from the books. So it's fair to say that the cast and crew members like him are the only thing that would save such a franchise. Cavill has garnered a lot of respect in recent years from fans of such franchises. His leaving the Witcher series is proof that you can trust him. He wouldn't have signed on in the first place if things were that bad. Not just that, but there was news going around that he might be playing Imperial Inquisitor Gregor Eisenhorn, but turns out that's a completely different project. The actor was super excited about the entire thing, saying that it was like a dream come true. I think all franchise fans are super glad that the show's responsibility has fallen on someone that's actually been a fan of it. In fact, Cavill has been crazy about it ever since he was a kid.
I mean, the easy answer is Warhammer 40,000. That is my jam. I have been into it since I was 10. Yeah, that's my jam, and that's the stuff I do in my free time.
That's amazing, amazing. I'd love to see your armies. Do you paint them yourself?
I do, yes.
That's so cool.
He may not be playing Superman anymore, but he sure is a hero to all nerds like me. Even if things go down in a horrible way later on, there's some peace in knowing that some of it would be great. It's been a huge relief to some people, but other fans didn't care for it. Most of the franchise's lore will be intact if enough people working on it are passionate about it, but there are bound to be some major changes to it as well, especially since it's now being made for a larger audience. That's been one of the biggest gripes stereotypes that fans have had about the new show, basically saying that it's going to be the same thing that they tried to pull off with shows like Rings of Power. Could that be just a bad stain on anything that Amazon handles? Or is it the start of a pattern that ruins beloved franchises? Obviously, if you're a fan of something, you don't want that thing to be tested on for that very thing. What would drive fans, especially longtime hardcore fans, wild is that they'd force in wokeism just for the sake of better marketing. That too, again, is marketing for the masses rather than for the dedicated fans. You're going to miss out on a lot of cool and important things that might be considered fan service, but mean a lot to people.
Armored in faith, shielded by devotion, armed with purity of purpose, the Emperor's will made manifest. We are the warriors of the Grey Knights, Demon Hunters.
In the end, skeptical fans aren't wrong. This could very easily turn the entire series into something that's just bland. But if they do get it right, here are some of the stories they could go for. While there isn't much news about the show yet, some things hint at what they might end up going for. I mean, it's pretty obvious if you think about it. They want to start the franchise with a bang, so you'll probably see an adaptation of one of the best-selling books it has to offer. They're also super important to the lore itself, so they're a great starting point for anyone who's just getting into Warhammer. I am, of course, talking about Horus Rising, False Gods, and Galaxy in Flames. Horus Rising tells you about the son of the immortal Emperor Horus, who's been entrusted with his duties and needs to make sure that the Great Crusade goes smoothly.
The galaxy is aflame. The shadow of damnation spreads across the stars. To repel this darkness, a mighty crusade is launched. Guided by their unshakable faith in the Emperor, they will vanquish the storm. They will be the light that breaches the darkness.
On the other hand, False Gods shows off Horus being seduced by the gods of chaos into betraying the Emperor. And I can't forget about Galaxy in Flames, which brings the treachery that Horus has planned to the front and a lot more. That's really all I can tell you about them, without any spoilers. A Warhammer show must have been hell to get a green light on. Is it even going to be profitable? It is. Many people out there want to get into something as cool as Warhammer. The only reason they never end up doing so is that there's just too much to cover. But the recent boom that Gamehouse's own streaming platform has seen recently confirms that as well. While that platform is nowhere near others like Netflix and the like, it's still profitable, at least according to Gamehouse itself. If it's tweaked a bit and made easier to access with the help of a giant such as Amazon, then I don't see a reason why that shouldn't happen. Though it does mean that Amazon is going to change things up a bit for the sake of more viewership. Whether they're going to change that or ruin the show is still to be seen. And that's all you need to know about why fans think the show will get the Rings of Power treatment. See you in the next video.